Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to do a bit of a video about my animal decks and sort of my journey to finding ones that worked for me. Quick caveat to this video, Peggy is doing some sewing in the background and we're kind of curious, well I'm kind of curious if it's really disruptive on my videos. So I'm going to record this, and as long as I think it's like passable, I'll still upload it, but definitely let me know what you think and if it was too distracting or not, and then I'll keep that in mind for my next one. But she's got some sewing to do and I've got videos I want to make, so we're working together in here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with a few different animal decks and sort of my thoughts and opinions that I've solidified after trying different types of decks and trying to figure out what maybe worked the best. So I'm going to kind of walk you through my journey a little bit here and let you know what I've learned and maybe do some comparing between different cards and such. So before I get into the oracles, I wanted to quickly talk about Paulina Cassidy's Spirit Song Tarot. So most of my video is going to be talking about oracles, but I wanted to specifically address Paulina Cassidy's tarot because I feel like this can actually work as an oracle, and I wanted to kind of share with you some of my thoughts about this deck, having worked with it a bit. I'm going to let my camera take a second to adjust. These images are really light. My only, I guess, criticism of this deck is that I do wish that the colors were a bit more saturated. I've seen pictures and actually handled her Joie de Vivre tarot, and that one I feel like the colors are just a little bit richer, a little bit deeper. This one I just feel like the colors feel a little bit washed out, and I just am wishing that they were just a little bit brighter. But I do think this deck is really, really beautiful. And the reason that I think it works really well as an oracle is because you have the animal really front and center in these images. You have the tarot title, so you know how it relates to the structure of the tarot. But then you usually have a couple of keywords. So for example, here on the Ace of Feathers, you have mental clarity. My camera will figure things out here. And foundation. So I feel like you can definitely use it like a tarot and get a lot of good, like an oracle, and get a lot of really good stuff out of it. I enjoy using this as a tarot deck, and I like that it's very gentle and nurturing. I feel like it's very accessible, especially for people who haven't necessarily had a tarot reading before, who don't really know what to expect. There's nothing in here that's going to be jarring. Unlike, say, decks like my Brady Tarot, which I've talked about in other videos, and I will link that one in the cards as well because I didn't bring it in for this one. The Brady Tarot has that drama in it that, you know, that we expect to find in like the Death card and the Ten of Swords and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more drama in that one. This one is just really gentle, just like you would think of as an oracle. So I feel like this would be a really great deck to transition somebody from tarot decks or from oracle decks over to tarot decks if that's all they'd worked with. So just honorable mention for Spirit Song. I think this is really beautiful, and if this was the only animal deck that I had, I think I would still probably be fine with that, and I do really enjoy it. The first exclusive animal oracle that I ever purchased was the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit. Now, the bit of this background behind this is that the Wild Unknown deck itself was a little bit of a FOMO purchase for me. Everybody was talking about it. Pictures were everywhere on the internet, on Instagram, and I was like, that's really different and really cool. I wasn't immediately attracted to the artwork, but it just seemed like it would be really different and powerful. And really what it ended up being was okay. So for me, the Wild Unknown was a bit meh. And I hoped that the Animal Spirit would be a different experience, and I have to admit, I was like, I kind of died over this holographic packaging, which is a stupid reason to get a deck for me personally anyways, but I really did think I was going to like these. There's a whole big story about how hard I have tried to make this deck work for myself. So I'll start out by saying this deck is trimmed, but I didn't start off with this deck trimmed. I started off with the borders. And what I did was try to work with it like I would work with any other oracle. And the first obstacle I ran into was that there were no keywords. So beautiful artwork, but no keywords. And it's like, okay, I can work with that sort of intuitively, but I found myself really relying on the guidebook. And so I kind of shelved this deck for a while. And I was like, you know, I just was never excited to pull it out. And the art style, while beautiful, isn't really the kind of art style I normally gravitate to, and so I found myself also feeling a little meh about it in the same way I was meh about, I do love this one, in the same way I was meh about the Wild Unknown. So Then I saw a flip through of this deck, or a walkthrough by Nina at Shuffle Tarot, and she had done a really cool modification to this deck. In the borders, which she kept on, she actually wrote the keywords from the guidebook. So for example, in each page of the guidebook, at the very bottom, you have a section for when this is in balance, when it's out of balance, and then how to bring it into balance. And so what she has done on hers is along this edge, she's written oh yeah, that's what she did. For this section here, along this side, she wrote these main, along this edge, she wrote these main keywords up here. And then along the top, she wrote when it's in balance. In the bottom, she wrote when it's out of balance. And then along the side, on the bottom edge here, she wrote how to bring it into balance. And I sat down with my deck. And she numbered all of the cards. There were numbers up in these little boxes here, so that it would be easier to find the cards in the guidebook when you did refer to the guidebook. So I tried to do that mod. I actually got through about 3/4 of the deck, and every time I picked it up to look at it, I just freaking hated it. I didn't like seeing my handwritten keywords on there. Made the borders feel really cluttered and messy. The numbers were great, except for when I came across one like this where it was black, and then I would have to put the number somewhere else or just not put it on there at all because I can't write on the black. I could have used like a fine point silver Sharpie or something. It totally did not occur to me. So I got mad at it, to be honest. I got really frustrated. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to trim the borders off. And that made it much more pleasant for me to look at, but it's still just not for me. So now I have this trimmed deck with some numbers on some of the cards that correspond to some numbers that I've written in the guidebook. And I'm just annoyed with this deck in general. So this definitely is a dust collector for me. I need to find a new home for it. So that is something that I'm going to be looking at doing here pretty soon. But this one was kind of a flop for me for all of those reasons. So then I was watching a bunch of walkthroughs of other Animal Oracle decks that were coming out, and there were two main ones that had caught my attention. One was the Colette Baron-Reid's new deck, the Spirit Animal Oracle, and the other one was Jody Bergsma's Spirit of the Animals Oracle. And they had very different art styles and different, like, totally different types of cards. And after a whole lot of back and forth, I finally decided on the Spirit of the Animals Oracle by Jody Bergsma. Now, I'll also put up in the cards my weekly deck review after my first week working with this deck. And I'll admit I left that week a little bit overwhelmed, but I think I've kind of figured this out a little bit for myself. And I'll kind of walk you through my experience with this one. So this one, the cards are huge. It also comes with one of those paper spread things that I just, no. These cards are gigantic. So for reference, actually, let's pull out the Spirit Song Tarot, since this is about a standard tarot, maybe a slightly bigger. So I'll use the back so you can really clearly see it. That is a Spirit Song Tarot, and then this is the Spirit of the Animals Oracle by Jody Bergsma. Those are the backs. They're really, really beautiful. So they're really big, which makes them a little bit more awkward to handle. I don't really mind big decks, and actually sometimes I kind of prefer bigger decks to smaller decks. But I'm looking over at Peggy, who's kind of trying not to laugh. But anyways.
I had a bad
She was thinking bad things. This came up for me in another video recently. Anyways. I really love the artwork in this deck. Is so beautiful, and it's got this realist quality. It's absolutely stunning. And what I love, and I think I kind of went from one extreme to the other, to be honest, because in the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit, there's no keywords, and then in this deck, you get a primary keyword, so here it's community, and then you get a bunch of sentences underneath as well. And I haven't minded this format in other Oracle decks. The one that comes to mind immediately is the Oracle of the Unicorns, which has, or the Unicorn Oracle, that has that sort of format on the bottom. And I don't mind that at all on that deck. But at the end of the week, my biggest hang up with this deck, believe it or not, was the cardstock. Because for whatever reason, after shuffling it a few times, it had gotten itself into this shape. Because I was side shuffling. I don't want to do it now because I've actually got them all in order. But it got itself into this weird shape where it was bowed and it would snap back and forth. And I pulled this deck out actually this evening to to put the cards in order so I could film a side by side with another deck. And they're not bowed anymore. So I wonder if there was a humidity thing from where they came from, like a difference in humidity. I've heard that can do that, because now they're totally fine. They're pliable. They're not snapping back and forth. They're not bowed. I've shuffled them a few times before I put them back in order, and still they haven't popped into a shape. So it might have just been something where they came out of the box with a bit of that brittleness or stiffness, I guess. And now that they've been hanging on my wall for a few weeks, they're good. Well, I guess it's been now a few months with this deck, but so anyways, yeah, so they seem great now. So I'm like, yay, that's nice. So the big thing with this one is that the artwork is very visually, it's very clear. Like there's a lot of detail in every single image. Great keywords. Really pulls you into, I think, more of a realistic nature look. No complaints at all about the artwork. Look at this butterfly. So pretty. But the main deck I actually want to focus on today is my newest one, called the Animal Kin Oracle. I'm going to set this aside because I do want to do some comparing. But you guys, this deck, I believe, I don't know, it was completely off my radar. This, I think, originally was an indie deck that was put out through a Kickstarter, I believe, by Sarah Wilder. And I think the cards have changed slightly since then, mostly in the borders and things from what I could see of images I found online. But I haven't really seen anybody talking about this newest edition until the 31, was it 31 Days of Tarot, or was it before that? No, I found a new channel. I will link her down below because her name is escaping me at this precise moment. But she had done an unboxing of this deck, and I was like, oh my god, that's like the perfect melding of all of these things I've been trying to figure out. And I do still really love this deck, particularly now that the cardstock issues are fixed. But there's things that take this one little bitty step forward that I'll be talking about. So for starters, this deck comes with 65 cards, which right off the bat makes me really happy. The Spirit of the Animals, I thought, had a really nice hefty number at 51. Spirit Song, obviously, because it's a tarot deck, has 78. But for an Oracle deck, 65 is really good. And we've only just now, I think, started to see Oracle decks coming out with this many cards, with some of Colette Baron-Reid's decks recently and that sort of thing. So this just feels really hefty. Comes in a really nice 2-part box. Has a really nice, like, thick guidebook. It's actually like 170 some odd pages, 174 pages. And yeah, lots of information. There's like a bit over a page or so on every card. Some have a little less, some have a little more. The backings of these cards, I'm gonna just pull this in here like this. And the backings of these cards are so pretty. And there's something about the colors in this deck and the vibrancy that just, oh, totally has my heart. These are totally matte. These cards here have that sort of typical tarot card shine to them. They're a thinner card stock, and because they're big, they probably feel more flexible than they would if they were smaller. This, it feels more like, not quite as thick as, say, the Mystical Shaman Oracle, if you're familiar with that, but pretty good. I'm not good at knowing what's 3 whatever GSM, I don't know, man, but they feel really good. What I found that I really loved about this is that this deck, like the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit, is in suits. So just like in the Wild Unknown, you have an earth, air, fire, water suit and a spirit suit. And yet, when you first start looking through this deck, you're like, well, how are you going to tell what suit is what? Because look at all these different borders. Like, every card has a unique border, which actually I think just totally adds to the experience of this deck. What it is, there's 2 things that help organize this. For starters, at the very top here, there's a mandala. I'll take my finger out of the way and see if my camera will figure things out here. Come on, camera, you can do it. There we go. There's a mandala there, and in the very center of the mandala, there's a number. Now, the design of the mandala is how you know what suit you're in. So in the earth suit, which I have here with Buffalo, you have that crystal design, and that crystal design tells us that we're in earth. When you're in water, you have a, come on, camera, there we go. You have a wave design. When you are in fire, you have this sort of flamey design right there in the center. And when you're in air, you have these arrow design in the mandala. And when you're in spirit, you have a star design. Let's see, come on. There we go. So you can tell what suit you're in, but you don't have to do it purely with color, which I think just, I don't know, I just really love that. Because they're also numbered, it would be no problem to look things up in the guidebook. So the structure is here. The structure that I really wanted in the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit is here with the addition of numbers. So you have suits and you have numbers. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. With the Spirit of the Animals Oracle by Jody Bergsma, you don't have numbers and you don't have suits, but you do have, the guidebook is organized alphabetically. But I do kind of like pulling in elemental energies into a reading, so I do really enjoy that about Animalkin. The animal selection here, I've learned over time that there are two creatures or animals I really, really, really want to see in my animal oracle if I'm going to have one. I want to see a unicorn, and that's not always easy to do because a lot of times they are not in animal decks because they are a mythological creature. But I also really like to see the ladybug. So that is definitely something that both of these decks have, which made me really, really happy. So the keyword situation. So on this deck, you have this really big but beautiful and colorful border. You have the animal in the center, and then at the very top, underneath your mandala, sorry, so I guess it's more like the middle, not the very top, you have the name of the animal, and you have a single keyword. Come on, camera. I hate that this camera doesn't want it. There we go. So for buffalo, it's gratitude. I love that. It's just enough without being too much, and it leaves it open for interpretation. I think, though, honestly, what really sort of tips me over the edge between these two is that the art styles are so different. I feel like with this art style, I really want to have it next to a more vivid colored tarot deck, something that's got that more realistic imagery itself. I think this would look great next to, say, a Ciro Marchetti deck, or another brightly colored oracle deck. I think would look perfect with this. With this, because it's got that painted watercolor style of art, I think it would look good next to almost anything. It's not so realist that you couldn't put it next to a less realist illustrated deck. And I think it's still really nice and bright and colorful. I totally just realized that I did not plug anything in, and I don't want batteries to die. So 2 seconds here while I fix that. There we go. We got a little beep, but we're good now. So there is some overlap on the animals, but I thought I would walk through this deck primarily. I know that's going to make this kind of a long video, so please feel free to grab a cup or pause this and watch this some more later. And when I get to a few of the sort of key animals that I really care about, I'll probably pull out from the other deck so we can see some comparisons. I'm going to see if I can bring the camera in just a bit closer, and then we will walk through. So first we have Buffalo Gratitude, and I mean, you're probably going to hear me say it the whole way through, but I just love how colorful the borders are. So we start out in the suit of Earth. The cicada, or cicada? I think is it cicada? Is it cicada? Yeah, cicada for cycles. The cow for nourishment. This actually kind of cracked me up because one of the criticisms that sometimes are made about Colette Baron-Reid and Jenna De La Grottaglia's deck is the embellishments on the animal, and I think this might be the only one in this deck that has embellishments. Watch me be wrong, but I don't mind it on the cow. For some reason, it just makes the cow feel more sacred in this particular card. I think nourishment makes perfect sense. That's the other thing I will say about both the Jody Bergsma deck and this deck, is that I feel like the keywords all make really, really good sense. Grace for the deer. There's something about the softness of the watercolors that I just really, really love. Grounded for the goat. Jabiru. Okay, so this looks like a stork to me. Jabiru. Jabiru. I'm going to look that one up in the little book here. It totally looks to me like a pelican or a stork. That's the only animal I didn't know what it was. It's a large stork. Okay, cool. That's what I needed to know. Perfect. Orangutan for creation. I love this bright orangey color. Nurture for the peahen. This pig. Oh my god, I love it so much. Abundance. I just love this. He's so, look at that sweet face. Instinct for the shark. Wisdom for the sloth. Exploration for the wombat. Connection for the wolf. This just feels so open. The way that this border is designed to sort of mirror, at least to me, it mirrors this moon in the center. So pretty. Trust for the crab. I love that. He's so guarded. There's so much I feel like you can do with just a really good keyword. Forgiveness for the dog. This one melts my heart every time I see it. Play for dolphin. Imagination for dragonfly. Love that. I also really like the font choices here. I like how like this is just a really clean font and then this is all sweet and written. I love the contrast. Knowing for the duck. Community for the flamingo. I love how tangled up they are here. Oh, so cute. Flow for the jellyfish. This is my word of the year. Presence for the manta ray. Authenticity for the parrotfish. Great keyword. Love for the seahorse. Sensitivity for starfish. Longevity for the turtle. And this is great because we know that sea turtles live so long. Communication for the whale. What's interesting is that I'm a very visual person. When I read, anybody who's had a reading from me probably knows, I get a lot of images in my head while I'm reading. And what I find about these keywords is that I get those pops of imagery. And as soon as I see whale and communication, I literally am picturing and kind of hearing whales underwater and the way that they communicate with one another. With their echolocation. Is it called echolocation with whales, honey? What's it called? Sonar, Steve says. Yeah, okay.
People
Sonar.
call it whale song.
Yeah, whale song. But that's what made me think of. I love curiosity with the alpaca. Now, so he does have some embellishments, it looks like, but it looks more like a colorful sort of bridle on him. And then there's some like flowers down here. But this totally makes sense for me, the alpaca, and I think of yarns and dyed yarns and creativity, and I just love that. Power for the bee. So here's one we can compare really quick. So we have power here, and here we have community. You're a powerful creator, though. Your work blesses everything you touch. Be open to receiving sweetness. You're the queen of abundance. So you still get that power keyword there. Camel, celebration. Oh, there's a real culture feel to some of these. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like this is a very multicultural deck, which I know seems strange because it's an oracle deck, or I mean an animal deck, but I just kind of feel that energy here really keenly. Cardinal for passion. Chameleon for energy. I think I started saying things funny. I love this fox. I think it's so beautifully painted. The keyword for fox is solitude. Sensuality for the gecko. And when I'm done with the walkthrough, I will do a shuffle and I'll walk you through the guidebook also and read one for you. Motivation for the horse makes so much sense. This is so soft. I feel like there's a lot to do with color here. So here's one of my very favorites. So in this deck, they call it Lady Beetle rather than Ladybug, and they've got her associated with luck. And if I look here in Jody Bergsma's deck, I like seeing animals side by side so you can really see the difference in the art style. There's something sort of neutral and sweet about this one, and there's something very vivid and beautiful and bright about this one. I don't know how else to describe it. There's just, yeah, they're very different. Oh, I was going to compare the words. Good luck. So they both have them for luck. You are bright energy. Let worry and go and be happy here and now. Feel good about being a loving and colorful you. You bless the world with color and good luck. Love that. When I first got this deck, I thought that I might feel that it would replace the other one, but after playing with both of them, I know that they both belong in my collection. Lion, confidence. So good. I wonder if we have a lion in here. No, we do not have a lion in here. I'm just going to keep these handy because I know I'm going to want to do more comparing. Snake for transformation. Love that snake and love that particular colorway. It's very Magic Feeling. No snake in Jody Bergsma's deck. Water Dragon for balance. Woodpecker, Opportunity. I don't think there was a woodpecker. It's so cool. They've got such a different mix of animals, actually. There's not as much overlap as I thought. Bear, Protection. There's a couple bears, actually, in Jody Bergsma's deck. So she's got Black Bear for Guardian. So there's our black bear and our protection. She also has, I believe, a polar bear and a grizzly bear. So let's take a look. So for grizzly bear, she has Power. And for polar bear, she has Mystic. So it's kind of neat that there's a few different bear energies in this deck. Bluebird, Pleasure. Pretty sure there's no bluebird here. Yeah, no. There's actually not, I think, as many birds in Jody Bergsma's deck in general. Butterfly for Change. We do have Butterfly in Jody Bergsma's deck, and it is Rebirth. And the color choices here are very similar, hey? Very pretty. Eagle for Strength. And here we have Eagle for Mastery in Jody Bergsma's deck. Elephant, Compassion. Oh yeah, okay, we have Elephant, Greatness here in Jody Bergsma's. Giraffe, Perception. I thought there was, yeah, Giraffe, Visionary. So very similar themes here. It makes sense that I like both of these because they do take the animals in a direction that sort of logically makes sense to me. Hummingbird, we have Joy. I thought we also had a hummingbird. Yeah, Hummingbird, Miracles in Jody Bergsma's deck. Pretty. Ibis. Ibis? Acceptance. I love having Peggy available. No, I like it. I like it because I don't know how to say some of these.
I know, but I do it absentmindedly and then people think I'm being rude.
No, man. I like it. Okay, so Ibis is in the air section we're in now, and she's number... Where's her number? Oh, 47. It's there. I do like that the numbers are unobtrusive, but you do have to look closely to find them. So, identified by their long, slender legs and necks, ibis are graceful and sociable birds. Okay, so that's just their name. They're not like, that's like not a nickname for something else. Definitely that one is not over here. I think we do have jaguar in both decks. So let's take a quick look. Oh, maybe not. Nope, we go right from H to L, unless I've alphabetized badly. So no jaguar in this deck. Kingfisher for peace. Kookaburra, amusement. I love this. There's definitely no kookaburra in any other animal deck that I have actually seen, so that's pretty cool. Love him. And we have a motorcycle too. That's awesome. Octopus for intelligence. I actually really like seeing octopus in decks because I think that there's a lot you can read intuitively about their ability to squeeze out of and into their situations. No octopus in Jody Bergsma's deck. There is an octopus, and I didn't bring this deck on to show because I've just done a walkthrough of it. In the Animantris deck, though, there is an octopus. Peacock, Inspiration. So there's both a peahen and a peacock in this deck, which I kind of like. This one also, I think, actually, let's pull this one back out. I'm pretty sure this one does have a peacock. Maybe, no? Oh, yeah, there we go. Peacock. So here we have Inspiration, and here we have Vibrancy. We're almost through these. So we're still in air, the air suit, and now we're into the spirit suit. So I didn't really talk too much about who was in what suit here. Sorry about that. But if you're curious about any of them, just leave me a comment and I can let you know which suit a particular animal is. So now we're into spirit, and we have beetle for purity, cat for mystery. So this deck also has a cat and a dog in it, and I believe so does this one. So this one has cat for independent, and I believe dog for loyalty, but let's just take a quick look. I know there is a dog in both. That's something else I actually really like seeing in animal decks is the domesticated dog and the domesticated cat. So this one has dog as friend. Crow for magic. It has to have a crow because I know Jody Bergsma's deck is a favorite of, oh, there is no crow. And I know this one is a favorite of Kelly Fitzgerald at The Truth and Story, and I know crow is one that she loves, so I'm surprised this one actually doesn't have one in there. Frog, healing. We do have a frog here. I meant to do this the whole way through, but it probably would have made it a million hours long, so it's probably a good thing I didn't. Frog. There we go. So here we have healing, and here we have prosperity. I have to say this is probably one of my favorite images in the entire deck of Spirit of the Animals Oracle. I just think it's so vibrant and beautiful. I do love this happy little frog. There was a time actually that I had a cute little pet frog. This one reminds me of him. So cute. Moth for awareness. Sorry, Simon. Owl for intuition. And I think we have owl over here. Yep. Owl for magic in this deck. Phoenix, renewal. I don't think we have any oh, I guess we do have some mythological creatures in here, but no phoenix in this deck. Love that there's a phoenix. I think that's a really fantastic mythological creature to put in animal oracles because of all of their rich symbology. Praying mantis for patience. This is so timely actually because somebody today on Facebook, at the time I'm filming this, they had posted a video, a time-lapse video, I can't remember who it was, of a praying mantis eating an entire other bug, and it took them like 3 hours. They were just very meticulous about it, so that image is kind of in my head from this. Spider empowerment, or sorry, Dreamweaver, and that's a beautiful keyword for spider. I'm pretty sure we also have spider, maybe not though. Oh, we do have raven. Okay, so we have raven, not crow, so that explains it. Okay, sorry, back to spider. No spider in this deck. I'm okay with that. I can take or leave spiders in Oracle decks. I can leave spiders in real life, but in Oracle decks I do appreciate their... I am terrified, but this one is actually one of my least favorite pictures of a spider because it's the shape of spider that makes it seem a little more creepy crawly than I would like, but his happy little colors all over him kind of soften it a bit for me. And I love the keyword Dreamweaver. I think that's really beautiful. Swan for harmony. I think I have a swan here too. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Swan for grace in Jody Bergsma's deck. Unicorn for miracles. I love this unicorn image. It is a must for me in an Oracle deck to have unicorn, and I'm really happy actually that the Animantris deck has a unicorn as well. That means that all 3 of the decks I plan to keep have unicorn in them, which is probably why I'm keeping them. This is the unicorn deck from Jody Bergsma's, and this is the unicorn deck from the Animal Kin. Or unicorn card, rather, sorry. And just a couple more. We have Wagtail for essence, and White Tiger for vision. My camera froze on my side, but I've noticed in the replays that they seem to not be frozen for the watcher, so hopefully you got to see that. I'm going to just come back just in case it did actually really freeze. So this was Wagtail, and this is White Tiger. So size-wise, the Animal Kin Oracle is like the perfect size. Like it's that kind of easy to handle. I'm going to show you next to the Spirit Song Tarot so you get that same comparison. So this is the Spirit Song Tarot, and this is the, oh, it's the same height. It's just a little bit wider. I thought it was actually going to be a little bit shorter and a little bit wider, but it's the same length as this US Games deck and a little bit wider. I love this particular size. I love the way the cardstock feels. It's matte, but it doesn't feel like it's sticking to itself too much. There's a little bit of stick, but very little compared to what most matte decks do. Cardstock wise, I definitely prefer this cardstock over this cardstock. I really prefer the backings on this deck. I love this sort of geometric, almost kaleidoscope effect. I think it's so pretty. Guidebook wise, I actually think both guidebooks are pretty good. I'm going to walk you through the Animal Kin Oracle guidebook here in a second. The Spirit of the Animals has full-size pictures and a pretty big page, as well as some more questions about the shadow side of that particular card, which is kind of a neat addition. And so that's laid out really nicely. The Animal Kin Oracle, let's walk through that one together. And then I'll do a shuffle and a draw here at the end. It's probably one of my longer walkthroughs, but I really enjoy being able to see animal decks side by side. So in this guidebook, you have your contents, and it's grouped It's numbered and ordered by the suit, which is really, 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 really nice. So you start out with the earth element from 1 to 13, water element from 14 to 26, fire from 27 to 39, air from 40 to 52, and spirit from 53 to 65. And if I'm not mistaken, that means that there is nearly an identical number in every single suit. There might be one extra air, it looks like, maybe. No, maybe it's the same. I think it might be the same. So it's very balanced with the suits, including spirit, throughout. And I found that in the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle, there was fewer of the spirit than of the other suits. So that's kind of nice to have that balance. There's an introduction and a background. Some discussion about totem versus messenger or kin. So that would be interesting to read. I have not read that yet. Talks about the shadow animal and power animal and things like that. Talks about the elements, and it does show you what the different mandalas look like so that you can easily identify. Talks about the elements, which is really nice to have all of that in there. You have an elemental clearing ritual, which is really nice. How to work with the cards, and then there's some spreads. So there's a 1-card draw. There's the Truth Unfolding spread, which I think this is actually really cool. So in this particular case, card 1 is truth or foundation or core of the situation, and card 2 is the unfolding. I think that's kind of neat for a 2-card. And then you have an Elements of Life spread where you have card 1. The only thing I will say is that the position numbers on these images are like tiny. I'm going to actually use my camera to bring it in and see if I can figure it out. Nope, still too tiny, and my eyes don't work that way. Okay, I don't know, man. But anyways, one of these is, it's probably north, south, east, west, with spirit in the center would be my guess. But the text is so ridiculously tiny on that image, that would be a minor gripe. And then there's an animal kin pyramid spread where you have your power animal, spirit animal, and shadow animal, which I think would be really cool to play with. And then you get right into card descriptions. And there is, again, about the equivalent of a page on each animal with a smaller image. And it goes like that all the way through to the end in the acknowledgements. So let's do a quick shuffle. And then I will draw one and read one, and then we will cap this off. All in all, I would say right now, if I were to rank the decks, I would say that this would come in at a 1 with Spirit of the Animals as a close second. And then my Spirit Song Tarot would come in after that, just because I still see it more like a tarot. My Wild Unknown Animal Spirit doesn't get ranked because I'm still mad at it, and it's probably going somewhere else. So these shuffle really beautifully. So just, you know, with a lot of matte cards, especially the slightly thicker cardstock, like for example with Mystical Shaman Oracle, they tend to really stick. Oh, I meant to show you, and I keep forgetting. Bridging is like so automatic. I'll show you what kind of mix I get, and this is still a pretty new to me deck. So that's the mix. So very little clumping or sticking, and you can see I'm not struggling to like put them back together like you do sometimes with matte decks. So I'll cut and draw us a card, and let's see what we got. Wagtail. I'm kind of glad we got Wagtail. So the keyword is essence, mostly because I'm curious about what the guidebook has to say. I've never heard of Wagtail before. So this is in the spirit suit. Kin essence. Get back to your roots and lighten up. So that is the initial key message. The small wagtail is a ground-feeding bird that is part of the fantail family. They have a joyful spirit that reminds us to be playful, spiritual, and childlike. Playful. Yeah. Okay. When life feels heavy and as if we are carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, we can look to a wagtail to see that life doesn't have to be so serious all the time. That in fact, in order to make a greater and more positive impact on the planet, we must look at continually maintaining our own positivity. The wagtail offers us the gift of reconnecting with our own essence, our purpose, our soul, and our connection to all that is divine. As he sits on the grass foraging for insects, swaying and fanning his big tail feathers in the air, we are reminded of the importance of staying grounded and remembering the childhood memories we collect, having fun, playing, dancing, and singing. Returning to these ancient practices for pure happiness, we are able to see what it was that always drove us to do such big work in this world, the innocence, the essence, and the beauty in life that we wish to continue to preserve for generations to come. Very, very, very nice. I really like that there is a good amount of information in here, but what I like most of all is that I can really just go off of this keyword and I have enough there to use my intuition. That's really what I want. I want a deck where I have enough to use my intuition. If I'm reading for myself, I really sometimes enjoy having a deck like this where I've got more to look at. I really enjoy that about the Oracle of Unicorns, and I know I'm going to enjoy that a lot about this deck. And now that it's not doing that weird like bowing thing it was doing before, I'm like 10 times more happy with this one as well. So all in all, I'm really, really happy with these two decks, but I'm probably the most excited right now about Animalkin. It's just, it like ticks all my boxes, right? It's got all the right animals, it's got the right cardstock, it's the right size, it's got the good guidebook. I mean, they both do, but yeah, definitely very excited. I think right now, if I absolutely had to pick, it would be this one, but I love them both. I hope that this was helpful. I think sometimes when you're watching flip throughs or videos or walkthroughs, it can get a little overwhelming when you're trying to remember what you liked about one versus another one. So these are different enough that hopefully seeing them side by side gave you some good perspective, at least on the things that I think matter, at least for my own practice. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you all again in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.